Our journey begins in the heart of ancient Rome, a realm of grandeur and grandiosity during the reign of the enigmatic Caligula. Born with the name Gaius, he would later earn the infamous moniker Caligula, which means little boot, a childhood nickname bestowed upon him by the Roman legions. To understand the tumultuous era in which Caligula rose to power, we must delve into the history of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, tracing its roots back to Augustus, the revered first emperor of Rome. But Caligula, as fate would have it, was no ordinary heir. He emerged as the third emperor of this storied dynasty, poised to leave an indelible mark on the annals of time. Yet as we embark on this journey, we must leave you with a tantalizing question. What happens when absolute power falls into the hands of one who is not only ruthless, but utterly unhinged? Welcome to the twisted world of Caligula. Chapter 1. Caligula's family and early life. In the shadowy annals of history, a young Gaius, later known as Caligula, emerged from the tumultuous backdrop of ancient Rome during the Julio-Claudian dynasty. His family's saga, marked by ambition and treachery, would shape his destiny. The saga began with Agrippina the Elder, Caligula's scheming mother, whose political ambitions led her down a perilous path. She rose to prominence, but ultimately faced the wrath of the infamous Tiberius, who saw her as a threat to his rule. Caligula, only a child at the time, was caught in the crossfire. Isolated and living with his three sisters after the fall of his family, Caligula's upbringing was far from ordinary. Yet, it was within this cloistered environment that he formed intense, and some say incestuous, relationships with his sisters, particularly Drusilla. These early experiences would cast long shadows over his future reign. As we delve into Caligula's early life, we uncover the depths of his family's tragedy and the emotional complexities that would come to define him. The foundation of his character was laid during these formative years, leaving an indelible mark on his reign of debauchery and madness. Chapter 2. Caligula's sexual escapades. In the decadent world of Caligula, pleasure knew no bounds. Caligula's promiscuous nature was legendary, transcending the norms of his time. He pursued sexual pleasure with a fervor that shocked even the most hedonistic of Rome's elite. His disregard for chastity and his involvement in homosexual relations pushed the boundaries of societal norms. One particularly scandalous incident that sent shockwaves through Rome involved Valerius Catullus, a young and handsome nobleman. Caligula's lust knew no bounds, and he pursued Catullus relentlessly, even making him a prominent figure in his court. The boundaries of propriety crumbled as Catullus became the subject of the emperor's desires, serving as a grim testament to Caligula's insatiable appetites. What made Caligula's sexual escapades even more shocking was his open attitude toward his desires. Unlike his predecessors, who often conducted their affairs discreetly, Caligula flaunted his liaisons with reckless abandon. He reveled in the scandal he created, challenging the norms of his time and daring anyone to oppose him. Chapter 3. Caligula's lavish parties. In the opulent corridors of his villas, Caligula's madness knew no bounds. These grand structures, once symbols of Roman affluence, were now transformed into hedonistic playgrounds that would leave even the most indulgent revelers of the time wide-eyed. Imagine, if you will, a world where the very essence of decadence is redefined. Caligula's villas became the epicenter of excess, where boundaries blurred and debauchery reached its zenith. Guests from all walks of life, from senators to slaves, were invited to partake in these lavish soirees. But what made these gatherings truly extravagant were the entertainers. Musicians filled the air with melodies enticing the senses. Dancers swayed sensuously, their movements a bewitching symphony of desire. And then there were the sex workers, their presence an integral part of these bacchanalian feasts. One shocking incident stands out amidst the relentless debauchery. A slave, once innocent, was thrust into a perverse game orchestrated by Caligula himself. This game, one of many, pushed the boundaries of cruelty and sadism to their very limits. Yet, amidst the relentless opulence and extravagance, there was a disturbing undercurrent. Caligula's parties were shrouded in an air of unpredictability, where guests lived on the edge of fear and apprehension. The emperor reveled in power and cruelty, and his whims could turn festivities into nightmares in an instant. As we delve deeper into the depths of Caligula's depravity, remember that these were not just raucous gatherings, but reflections of a tormented mind. The grandeur of the parties was but a facade, masking the inner turmoil of an emperor lost in the throes of madness. Chapter 4. Caligula's Brutality. In the twisted tapestry of Caligula's reign, a dark thread weaves through his erratic and brutal disposition. His mood swings were legendary, painting a chilling portrait of his sociopathic tendencies. Picture a banquet, a lavish display of opulence and decadence. Guests gathered in anticipation, their smiles disguising unease. But in Caligula's world, a whimsical whim could turn their joy to terror. One evening, he ordered his guests to take their seats on a ship's deck, only to reveal his sinister intent. With a sadistic glint in his eye, he declared his intention to drown them all for his own amusement. Another macabre incident etched in history involved a hapless slave who dared to admire Caligula's illustrious hair. Enraged by the insolence, Caligula grabbed a pair of shears and severed the man's hands, a chilling testament to his erratic cruelty. Caligula's peculiar obsession with his bald spot is equally infamous. He'd go to great lengths to hide it, even employing elaborate comb-overs and wigs. Yet, any hint of exposure would send him into a frenzy, lashing out at anyone who dared to look. His vanity was eclipsed only by his capriciousness, and it cast a shadow over the Roman Empire. But beneath these chilling acts lay a disturbing pattern. Caligula's reign was marked by a sense of foreboding, a persistent undercurrent of fear. His subjects lived in perpetual dread, aware that the emperor's wrath could strike at any moment. Caligula, once hailed as a young and promising ruler, had spiraled into madness and cruelty. His reign was a descent into the depths of human depravity, a terrifying chapter in Roman history that would forever be remembered for its brutality. Chapter 5. The Downfall of Caligula. Caligula's insatiable appetite for spending had taken a severe toll on the Roman treasury. His lavish parties, ambitious construction projects, and excessive gifts had drained the empire's financial resources to the brink. As Rome struggled under the weight of this financial burden, the stage was set for a dramatic shift in power. Behind the scenes, a conspiracy was brewing. Senators and members of the Praetorian Guard, discontented with Caligula's erratic rule and extravagance, saw an opportunity to rid the empire of its mad tyrant. Secret meetings were held, plans were hatched, and the conspirators were determined to put an end to Caligula's tyranny. The climactic moment arrived when Caligula, unaware of the impending danger, planned yet another extravagant event. The people of Rome gathered, anticipating another display of his grandiosity. Little did they know that this event would be unlike any other. As Caligula entered the venue, surrounded by loyalists and unsuspecting guests, the conspirators sprang into action. In a shocking and public display of defiance, they confronted Caligula. The emperor, cornered and defenseless, faced his destiny as the conspirators took matters into their own hands. The final moments of Caligula's life played out in a riveting and dramatic fashion, bringing an end to a reign marked by debauchery, madness, and cruelty. The Roman Empire, which had endured the darkest chapters of its history under Caligula's rule, was now poised for a new era. With the downfall of Caligula, the empire's leaders hoped to restore stability and sanity to Rome. However, the legacy of his rule would linger on, casting a long shadow over the pages of history. In the aftermath of his reign, questions would persist about the nature of power, the limits of human depravity, and the enduring impact of one man's reign of debauchery and madness. And that's it from this video. See you in the next one.